Happy Pride, everyone. My name is Thomas Brown, and today I'm with Cheyenne Sexton, and we're both from 𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗓 Counseling Services. And we'd like to talk today a little bit about pride and what that means to us at 𝗦𝗢𝗓, and also how it connects to mental health. So hi, Cheyenne, how are you today?
I'm good, Tom. Thank you so much for inviting me into this conversation.
Of course, it's great to talk to you. I'm so excited to kind of chat with you a bit and ask you these questions. So let's just jump right to it. In your mind, Cheyenne, what does pride mean? What does pride mean to you?
For sure. So pride initially meant to me before I came out. Now I identify as a gay woman, but it wasn't always like that.
Right.
So when I was once in the closet, pride kind of meant to me almost like this mystique of a community that I knew I was a part of, but I didn't know how to fully integrate myself into it. I didn't feel like I had the permission. So I would go to the Pride Festival, for instance, in Toronto,
Right.
and I kind of ended up gathering what pride meant to me in those experiences initially when I was younger. And what I always say to people is that the first foundations of belonging and a sense of community, kindness, really were fostered at those gatherings.
Right.
It's a place you can honestly go and someone holds the door for you, you know what I mean? And you hold the door for them, you know they're gonna say thank you. Someone bumps into you, they say pardon me first.
Right.
So what pride honestly means to me at first was kind of a mystery, but now what pride means to me is acceptance, feeling like I'm a part of something bigger than myself, and just feeling glorified and joyful in the experience of kind of celebrating a very unique community that I'm part of.
Yeah, that's great. I love those words that you use, glorified and joyful. Do you mind, why did you choose those two words? Those are great words.
Well, I figured out along the way that it was a sense of kind of relief, being able to fully come into your own personal identity.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that prior to kind of going through all these experiences, positive and negative. So it's kind of like when you finish like a race and you feel like you've made it there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a euphoria of really feeling whole and feeling one.
Yeah.
So that's what I find glorious about it, is that anything negative that came along, which it does,
Sure.
But pride and being part of the LGBTQ2S+ community, you feel a sense of overcoming.
Right.
So I feel like that overcoming is in itself really joyful.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I love that story. And I remember my coming out and that sense of just release and being free and able to do that. And so, glorified, joyful, being one. Those are some really great words that you chose. And that's kind of a nice segue into that second part. How do you see pride linking then to mental health?
For sure. So I think that it has a very large link. And I think as our community and our society kind of enlightens themselves around the topics of mental health, more conversations are also coming into play on individuals that may be ostracized in communities, whether it's sexual minority or a racial minority. So the link there is that the type of, I guess, systematic barriers that are present for those individuals obviously can cause a lot of hardships.
Sure.
So when it comes to mental health, I see that pride has a positive link in the sense that our community has expanded almost into being a more normalized community.
Right.
So there is some positive aspects that are coming. Change isn't linear.
Yeah.
But I do see that on a grander scheme of pride and mental health, I see that what can be a very negative emotional, mental, physical experience for somebody of a gender or sexual minority is slowly being able to be turned into having more resources, and then they can then change, and hopefully society helps them change along the way. An experience that can be negative with their mental health and pride and their identity into something more positive, where kind of like what I mentioned, that story of kind of being back behind closed doors and then walking out and being one and whole. So there's two kind of sides to it, right? It started with the resistance, and every year, of course, we celebrate our progresses, but there's also a side to it where there's not a lot of people that can all feel that certain type of way, the joy, the
Sure.
euphoria, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, so there's a link positively and negatively, and it's kind of just trying to help our peers move up that scale.
For sure. Yeah. I'm really hearing in your words that idea that we've come a long way, and we've come so far, and we can be a little, normal, if you will, and feel included and part. And then there's still so many places in the world, and even in our backyard, some places where there's still so much work to do and advocating to do and things like that. Do you mind telling us a little bit about some of the advocating you've done to kind of help break down barriers? Just kind of
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Well, I guess to keep a long story short, when I was in high school, I was quite involved in my high school in multiple facets of that being athletics, academics, and extracurriculars. And I knew that I was part of the community probably around grade 10-ish. It's going back a few years now. But I was really actually like nervous. I didn't come out in high school because that almost like plays that mental health piece, is that we actually had a lot of really progressive things. I went to a Catholic school. We had a lot of progressive things going on within the school. I went to St. Mary's. That kind of was student-led, staff-led. So I would always, want to take part of these initiatives, and I held a lot of privilege in my high school experience just because of the places that I put myself in.
Sure.
So it's almost like a weird dichotomy that I had a lot of friends that I also knew were out or questioning, and they didn't hold those types of social privileges.
Right.
And it made me feel really bad that I couldn't be strong enough for myself to be strong enough for them.
Right.
So I promised myself that after high school, when I became into myself and felt comfortable, which in looking back, which leads into my next story, but in looking back, it shouldn't have been my responsibility to have to carry that on my shoulders. It should be no student responsibility.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Someone should have also been there for me in my group and previous, saying it's okay, like, you can be an advocate because you are accepted.
Right, exactly.
So years go on, a few years later, and I recently came into a controversy where the school board, the Waterloo Catholic District School Board, decided that they weren't going to fly the pride flag, and they made their own inclusivity flag. And it was just like, I tried to tell them, like, you can't replace the Canadian flag, like, what I mean? There's just a premise really missed. So I started with me and a couple other student leaders at the time, the student pride movement. So we really broke down the word pride into what it means, and aligned it with our Catholic faith. And we did petitions, we did videos, we did a lot of just media content. It was during COVID, so we could only do so much. We really pushed the virtual, right?
Right.
And it turned out, and we met with the school board, the superintendent. We kind of created such a wave that they kind of couldn't help but listen. And us, along with other groups in the community, definitely reached out all at the same time. And this year, the pride flag went up. And now they can't take it down now. It might come down at the end of June, but it will go back up next year.
It's amazing.
So,
yeah. And we talked a little bit about that, didn't we? Just the meaning that has for so many people, and my family included. And we drove by our school, and I pointed out the pride flag to the kids. And it's just so lovely, that sense of inclusion and wholeness and belonging and place. And thank you so much for that, advocating and working and making that happen, and doing your part there. That's amazing. You are amazing, and it's such a giant, and you can, people can look to you. So thank you so much for that and for sharing with us today.
No, of course, I really appreciate it. Representation is the first step to acknowledgement. You can't look away from it, and acceptance and education come after that. So
right on. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Happy Pride, Cheyenne. Happy Pride to you. Yeah, great. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye for now.
Yeah. Bye for now.
Bye.